Mr. Ikeda speaks on great figures of the world. The Kenyan environmental activist Dr. Wangari Maathai, illustrated by Mitsuko Motomura. In autumn, grain ripens and trees bear fruit, providing nourishment for all living things. Plants exert their full strength and energy into producing their rich harvest. Nichiren Daishonin uses the example of plants to teach us to make the most of our own noble lives for the sake of the peace and happiness of all. Soka Gakkai founding president Tsunesaburo Makiguchi and his beloved disciple Soka Gakkai's second president Josei Toda stood up and took action just as the Daishonin taught. Wishing to foster capable individuals who were like strong trees that would remain firm against the fiercest storms, they proceeded to encourage each person they encountered. On November 18, 1930, the Soka Gakkai was established, and this year, 2015, marks its 85th anniversary. Today, we have members in 192 countries and territories around the world. When a single individual stands up, they can change history. Mr. Makiguchi had Mr. Toda as a disciple, and Mr. Toda had me. I have you, the members of the Future Division. That gives me a sense of comfort and reassurance. The Kenyan environmental activist Dr. Wangari Maathai was a dear friend of the SGI. She stood up alone to protect the natural environment by planting trees. Planting trees means planting life. When you plant a tree in the bare earth, you create an environment where people, animals, and numerous other living things can make their homes and thrive. Eventually, many followed the example set by Dr. Maathai and planted trees in African countries where the desert had been expanding. More than 100,000 people planted over 40 million trees to protect the environment. Dr. Maathai visited the Seikyo Shinbun building in Shinano-machi, Tokyo in 2005, and we talked about the future of our planet. I vividly recall the message she imparted with a beaming smile. The future is not far away, it is now. If there is something you want to achieve in the future, you need to act now. Dr. Maathai said she was happy to have had many wonderful encounters with SGI members in her travels around the world. She also gave a lecture at Soka University in Tokyo. One of the classroom buildings on the Soka University of America campus in Orange County, California, is named after her, Wangari Maathai Hall. Let us learn about making tireless efforts from the life of Wangari Maathai. Dr. Maathai was born on the 1st of April 1940 in Kenya. The village where she grew up was on a high plain with a good view of Mount Kenya. Many birds and wild animals such as elephants, monkeys, and leopards lived in the nearby forests. There were countless massive fig trees whose branches spread out in a diameter of up to 20 meters. Her mother taught her that people lived together in harmony with all the animals and plants which supported and sustained their lives. Dr. Maathai was the third of 6 children. In addition to attending elementary school, she often helped her mother with cleaning the house, doing the laundry, and taking care of her younger sisters. She also studied hard. After completing high school, she was awarded a scholarship to study in the United States. 5 years later, Dr. Maathai returned to Kenya, where she was surprised to see that the forest she loved had been cut down and transformed into fields growing crops for export to foreign countries. It was as if everyone had forgotten how the trees had always sustained the land and protected clean water and sources of food. When the rain fell on treeless land, the soil was washed away, turning the rivers brown and making it impossible for grass to grow. If this continues, our country will become a desert, worried Dr. Maathai, who had continued her university studies in Kenya and earned her doctorate. She thought about what she could do to change this situation and decided to plant trees. She immediately took action and gathered a group of supporters to plant trees with her. Dr. Maathai's slogan was Harambe, Swahili for "Let us all pull together." But some people opposed her movement. There were others who tried to use their power in order to make money, and they saw Dr. Maathai and her supporters as standing in their way. An incident occurred where someone uprooted and threw away the trees that Dr. Maathai and her friends had planted. Even then, Dr. Maathai did not give in. She refused to stop planting trees no matter what opposition she encountered, because she had complete faith that what she was doing was right. She often told the story of the hummingbird. When a fire started in the forest, the elephant, tiger, bear, and frog were all frightened and ran away, but not the hummingbird. It carried a drop of water in its beak from a distant pond and dropped it on the burning forest, and continued doing this over and over again. "The little drops of water you are carrying will do no good," said the other animals to the hummingbird. But the hummingbird answered, "I'm just doing the best I can to help." In the same way, Dr. Maathai continued to do what she could. Her persevering actions eventually moved people's hearts, and the number of those joining her tree planting campaign grew and grew. They persuaded the authorities to stop cutting down trees and protect the forest from destruction. People around the world praised the tree planting movement, which is known as the Green Belt Movement. When people value life, peace will spread. In 2004, Dr. Maathai was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Both Mr. Makiguchi and Mr. Toda encouraged those who were suffering and did what was right, leading people to happiness. But they were arrested and imprisoned by Japan's militarist authorities, who were spurring people on to war. However, with the spirit of a lion king, they refused to retreat a single step. Those who do not let bad people defeat them are people of courage and justice. I, too, together with our pioneer members, including many of your grandparents and parents, have fearlessly remained true to what is right, no matter how people criticized me. I hope you will inherit this courageous spirit. Dr. Maathai declared that each individual has the power to make the world a better place. All of you have the potential to change the world. You can demonstrate that by challenging yourself in your studies, sports, reading, doing gongyo, and so on. Greeting your parents and friends every morning with a bright smile is a wonderful first step towards peace. Your beaming face will brighten the spirits of your parents and everyone around you, and perhaps there will be fewer arguments and fights. We are all connected at the most fundamental level of our lives. That is why the actions of one person can change the world. Every day is a fresh challenge. Find what is it you can do and challenge yourself. And like Dr. Maathai, keep trying as hard as you can. Plant a tree of learning, a tree of hope in the earth of your heart today, for the sake of the world and for the future. From SGI Newsletter number 9474. dated 26 October 2016.